Every cup of Nespresso coffee is an invitation to transform your morning routine into a ritual you can treasure each and every day. Using the Virtuo Pup, a simple touch of the button freshly brews bold aromas and a rich, velvety crema layer for delicious cafe-quality coffee at home. Whether you enjoy your coffee hot or over ice, every sip, every morning is unforgettable. Nothing tastes like Nespresso coffee. Visit Nespresso.com or our app to explore our full range of easy-to-use machines and coffees not found anywhere else.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to this edition of There Can Only Be One, the podcast that puts together the all-star best-of playlists of your favorite bands and artists, and a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Hello to all of our listeners in Whitby, Ontario, and around the world. How the heck are you guys doing? Are you ready to raise the horns, everybody? Because we're going to be talking about one of the hard rockinest bands from the 2000s and the 2010s. We're talking about Stone Sour. And here to join me, my lovely wife, Carrie, in the pit for this one. How are you doing?
I like what you did there. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I am doing good. Okay, so we're talking about Stone Sour. And of course, Corey Taylor is also known for his work in Slipknot and now his solo albums. So before we even get to this, are you a Slipknot girl or are you a Stone Sour girl?
Ooh, I'm a Corey Taylor fan.
Okay.
I mean, his voice, whether he's masked and in his prison jumpsuit and thrashing around, or Stone Sour, where he's unmasked and he just has a killer voice, like absolutely, I don't know, unmatched. Like, his voice is fantastic.
I would put Corey Taylor kind of in the same boat as John Bush.
Ooh, interesting.
Both of them bring a ton of power to their presentation.
Power, but they can also bring it down.
That's the thing. Corey Taylor is a very versatile singer. And I know that you often see in the completely idiotic internet comments out there, it's like, well, if you like Slipknot, you can't like Stone Sour because it's more radio. Or if you like Stone Sour, you can't like Slipknot because it's so rah.
You know, I saw the best meme and it was like, wow, the guys in Slipknot must be really ugly. And then you see like a picture of Corey Taylor and it's like, huh.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
But I mean, like, we're talking about someone who can basically turn the SpongeBob SquarePants theme song into a killer acoustic sing-along live. He was born to sing that song.
And don't forget about the wacky waving inflatable arm guys that he had up on stage. I was like, oh, that's fantastic.
Right. So here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about Stone Sour. But we're only going to be talking about Stone Sour. We're not covering Slipknot albums, and we are not covering Corey Taylor's solo discography. And we are about to go through 8 albums and EPs from the full Stone Sour discography. As always, we're not going to cover any live albums or compilations or anything that was released only on a soundtrack. And we're going to go all the way back to 2002 with the release of the self-titled Stone Sour debut full-length album released on August 27th of that year. The band at this point is Corey Taylor, James Root, Josh Rand, Sean Economaki, and Joel Ekman. It hit number 46 on the US charts and is certified gold in the US, the UK, and Canada. There were 3 singles off of this one. Bother charted the highest, hitting number 2 on the US mainstream rock charts and number 4 on the alternative charts. At the 2003 Grammys, Get Inside was nominated for Best Metal Performance but lost to Here to Stay by Korn. And at the 2004 Grammys, Inhale was nominated for Best Metal Performance but lost to Saint Anger by Metallica. So, right off the bat, their self-titled debut major label studio album, what's your pick?
I know that you would agree that Bother is the obvious pick.
Well, Bother is everyone's first introduction, because I remember when that video came on, like all black and white, and this is where I say that Corey Taylor is a ridiculously talented and diverse singer when it comes to his singing styles.
Oh, he's fantastic vocally, but I would love to just sit down for a cup of coffee and just talk his brains out. Like, I want to have a great conversation.
You make that sound so violent. I'm going to talk your brains out, Corey Taylor.
I thought you were going to say, I make it sound hot. I'm like, no, intellectually, I want to sit and have a conversation with Corey Taylor, because every single interview clip that I've ever seen from him on any given band or whatever's going on, he is always so incredibly astute. He is like a little bit outspoken, and I kind of like that. I can get behind that, but always on point. And it's like he makes you think. Like, he doesn't quite give an answer, but he'll give all the reasons to why.
Yeah.
And where I'm going with this is my pick off of this album is actually not a song. It's spoken word poetry. I'm going with Omega.
Okay.
Holy wow. Like, listening to this, and I listened to it, and then I doubled back and I played it again, and then I played it again just one more time, because it brought me back to like when Jim Morrison had the spoken word album that he released. And there was just something so incredibly beautifully poetic about it, and yet either very political or very religious. I don't know, but either way, Corey Taylor has my vote. Like, because it was almost kind of like it was constructed like a sermon. But yeah, there were elements of, politics and elements of working yourself to the bone until you're working so hard that you need a vacation. But then when you're on vacation, you only have to go back to work. And it was kind of like, holy shit, like, he is speaking to me right now. Like, I'm like, oh, wow, this is incredible. And again, I wanted to pick Bother because it is a lovely song, but I had to go with Omega.
Well, considering that he has released a number of books, and I know I have a few books in my home library that it's going to take me 7 lifetimes to finish all of them. But I actually do have a copy of his book, America 51, a probe into the realities that are hiding inside the greatest country in the world. So I'm actually looking forward to reading that one when I get around to finding the time to read it. He's a smart as hell dude. Like, absolutely. And I'm not surprised that some spoken word track off of one of these albums is going to speak volumes, because his writing can speak volumes. I did have Bother on my short list, as well as Tumult, but I'm actually going with a single off of this one, and that's Inhale. It's a bit more of a down-tempo banger, but definitely one that allows Corey Taylor to shine. And the guitar lick is actually... when your guitar riff is actually singable, you know you have a good song on your hands. And I think this is why I tend to... And I'm not saying I don't like Slipknot, because I do like Slipknot, but I think I tend to gravitate more towards Stone Sour's compositions, because I find that musically they are more singable, as opposed to like the absolute like wall of sound that is a Slipknot song.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and a TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy, all of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
Come Whatever May, released August 1st, 2006. We have a member change on this one. Roy Mayorga, who came over from Soulfly, is now on drums, replacing Joel Ekman. The album hit number 1 on the US Top Rock album charts and number 4 on the Billboard 200 and number 6 in Canada. It is certified platinum in the States and gold in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK. There were 5 singles off of this one. Through Glass charted the highest, hitting number 1 on the mainstream rock charts, and Silly World hit number 2. At the 2007 Grammys, 30-31-50 was nominated for Best Metal Performance, but lost to Eyes of the Insane by Slayer. So off of Come Whatever May, your thoughts on this disc?
Well, as you said, there are so many great songs to choose from. But my pick was... I don't even know, aside from saying maybe someone fell asleep on the keyboard. I'm going to go with ZZYZX Road.
Pronounced Zizix Road.
Okay. All right. I did not know. I mean, damn. This song, like, chills. Like, might even have a little tear leaking out of the corner of my eye. This song is so good.
Mm-hmm. See, I thought this was going to be an easy pick for me, and it really is. Although I do want to point out that I have Through Glass on my short list, but this is a coin flip, and it starts with 30-31-50 on one side of the coin, and Zizix Road on the other side of the coin, and a lot of it depends on the mood that I'm in at the time. But as I made this list, I realized that Zizix Road is an absolute epic song. And the best way I can describe this, if I'm ever trying to describe this song to anybody, I need to say, what would happen if Layla, the Derek and the Dominoes version, was done, but a little bit heavier? Because you think about it, the original version of Layla had this long piano, almost like end credits kind of feel to the song. Now, obviously that part's not in the MTV Unplugged version that Eric Clapton did later of Layla, which had more of a swing blues jazz kind of style to it. Zizix Road, it's a powerful song to begin with vocally, but that trail piano end of this song feels like an end credits. It feels like the end of a movie. The fact that this is how you end the album. This album, from every single album in the Stone Sour discography, this album has the best start song with 30-31-50 and the best end song with Zizix Road. And you're right. Zizix Road is absolutely cinematic. Absolutely love it. And from a lyrical standpoint, from a musical standpoint, Zizix Road is definitely the absolute best song on this disc. Until you ask me tomorrow when I'm in a heavier mood and I need to go with 30-31-50. But even then, I'd be like, okay, but now can we hear Zizix Road? So you're not going to pull that one away from me. And Zizix Road was the last single released off of the album. So that's 2 for 2. You know me. I don't normally go with the singles. 2 for 2, I've gone with the singles. That tells you that Stone Sour knows exactly what they're doing and what songs to release. Audio Secrecy, released September 7th, 2010. Hit number 2 on the US rock charts, hard rock charts, and alternative charts, and is number 6 on the Billboard 200. Certified silver in the UK. There were 4 singles off of this one. Say You'll Haunt Me hit number 1 on the mainstream rock charts. This album is tough to pick just one song off of. But what did you go with?
I went with The Bitter End, which to me had that heaviness, that power that Slipknot brings. So as much as I do love Say You'll Haunt Me, I mean, that would be an obvious pick as well. I went with The Bitter End. How about you?
I need to point out that my short list of this album is the whole album.
You can't do that.
Oh, I can very much do that because I don't use this term lightly. Audio Secrecy is a perfect album. Front to back, every song, every mood. Audio Secrecy, to me, is a perfect album. There isn't a bad spot on this at all. Like, I think my least, like, if we were doing a spin shuffle skip episode, I think I'd pick skip because for mission statement, because I had to pick one. That is literally how I feel about this album. But I had to pick one. I sat and I jumped back and forth between a couple songs on this. I mean, Digital, it's a good one. Say You'll Haunt Me, absolutely. Hesitate's good. Imperfect is so good. But I ended up going with Dying. And I know it's not maybe a popular pick off of this one, but hear me out. What would it sound like if someone wrote a campfire song with a lot of distortion and heavy guitar work? It's kind of what it feels like. It's catchy, it's hooky, it's radio friendly. It's begs for a sing-along during the chorus. Like, lyrically, I would have to say Imperfect is up there. But for catchiness and hooks, it's Dying. And that's on an album that has songs like Say You'll Haunt Me and Digital, Did You Tell? Like, there's not many albums that I would say are perfect. This is up there. This may be one of those few front to back, everything is awesome songs or albums.
Can I just give props, though, to how brilliant are some of the names of the songs? Like Digital, Did You Tell the World?
Mm-hmm.
Imperfect. There was another one, too, where he really played with, the album title, Come Whatever May.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my God. I stand here and say, you know what? Corey Taylor, if you want to call into the show, we'll set that up. Because
wait, I have to have a phone plugged in now?
Make it happen. Because, I mean, there's the internet,
The interwebs exist?
Yeah.
I think from a lyrical perspective, and we talked about Corey Taylor and having a number of novels out there, a number of books. I think you could put Corey Taylor in the same boat as Greg Graffin from Bad Religion, in that they are wordsmiths. They are hard rock, powerhouse, great vocalists, but they are wordsmiths. The lyrics from Bad Religion songs are poetry unto themselves. Greg Graffin has, for decades, created rock poetry. Corey Taylor's not far off. And I hold Greg Graffin as one of the better lyricists in hard rock. Corey Taylor can join that group. House of Gold and Bones Part 1, released October 22nd, 2012. We have a member change at this point. Sean Economaki is no longer in the band. Rachel Bolan from Skid Row actually played bass on this album and Part 2, which came out the following year. The album hit number 1 on the US rock and hard rock charts and number 7 on the Billboard 200. There were 2 singles off of this one. Tired charted the highest, hitting number 1 in the mainstream rock charts, and Absolute Zero hit number 2. At the 2012 Revolver Golden Gods Awards, this album was nominated for Album of the Year, but lost to The Hunter by Mastodon. So now we're in a 2-part concept album. Your thoughts on this disc before we get to your pick?
Okay, so House of Golden Bones Part 1 was so good. Literally 2 words that I wrote right under the title, so good. Like all of the songs you mentioned, Tired, RU 486, a Rumor of Skin, Absolute Zero, phenomenal songs. It was really hard for me to pick one, but
that's the job of the show.
I know, but I had to. And do you know how many times I curse under my breath? I'm like, damn it, I can't just pick one, because the entire album is worthy of being picked and selected and honored, because it is so damn good. But inevitably, I have to go with Absolute Zero. That song is just
that's
so
a banger.
So catchy.
That is an absolute banger. And yeah, I completely agree that this disc is the first 8 songs on this disc are must play. Absolutely. I'm not the biggest fan of Influence of a Drowsy God, but if you only have one song on this disc where I'm like, okay, maybe I'll move over to the next one, that's a good tale. When I listen to this album, because it's a concept album, of course, I instantly think about Operation Mindcrime from Queensryche and that being one of the best concept albums of all time. But the way I describe this album to people is, all right, take Operation Mindcrime, but what if it was written by Alice in Chains? That's what this album kind of feels like. It's got some very Alice in Chains riffs to it, especially on a song like A Rumor of Skin. Very Alice in Chains on that one. But when you're right. Absolute Zero is the absolute best song on the disc. I mean, yeah, Tired's good. The Travelers Part 1. Oh, so good. And Taciturn. Corey Taylor had put out an entire acoustic concert from London on his YouTube channel. Just him and an acoustic guitar doing songs from Slipknot, from Stone Sour, covers, SpongeBob. Are you ready, kids? I can't hear you. Mess up my throat doing that. Taciturn is one of those songs that really surprised me from that acoustic performance with just how strong it is. You can't go wrong with a song that fires on. I think Absolute Zero may be not maybe their hardest song, but definitely one of their hardest radio-friendly songs. You want to hear this in an arena. You want to hear this pumping up your sports team. You want to hear this song cranked to 11 because that's one more than 10. And that's what we do with the heavy albums.
But you know, you mentioned the Traveler Part 1, and then of course there's the Part 2. I really wanted to pick Part 1.
Yeah.
But I'm like, can you really separate it? Like, they are 2 different songs.
I think you can separate them. And I say that knowing that you take a look at Pink Floyd's The Wall, which is, you could argue, is another influence on this album because it's a concept album, right? You have Another Brick in the Wall Part 1, which is different than Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, which is different than Another Brick in the Wall Part 3. They all lean into the same moods and themes musically, but they are 3 very different songs. And
see, now I want to see the concept album put to stage with actors and
or in film form.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally don't know what the actual story behind it is. All I know is it's got fantastic. So this is one of those concept albums where you tell me it's a concept album, cool, I'll go along with it. I don't know what the story is. You know, most concept albums, I can figure out what the story is, right? You take a look at Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory by Dream Theater, which, oh my God, that's a fantastic concept album. Of course, Queensryche's Operation Mindcrime. You've got The Who's Tommy. You've got Pink Floyd's The Wall. You have Alice Cooper's Brutal Planet. Like, these are all really good concept albums. Even The Crimson Idol by Wasp. Great concept albums, and I can figure out what the story is. I don't know what the story is behind House of Golden Bones, but the songs are good. April 9th, 2013 saw the release of House of Golden Bones Part 2, hit number 10 on the Billboard 200 and number 1 in Hungary and Japan. There were 2 singles off this one. Do Me a Favor hit number 4 on the mainstream rock charts. So coming off of House of Golden Bones Part 1, what were your thoughts on this disc?
I struggled with this one, to be honest, because Part 1 was so good. This one I kind of felt like, okay, this is the band just doing what speaks to them.
Mm-hmm.
And, not necessarily focusing on the radio play. I can't really think of any of these songs that I often hear on the radio, if anything. So it almost kind of felt like this is our, this is our album for us. It's not necessarily meant to sell 1,000 copies or 10,000 copies or 10 million copies. It's for us. And it kind of felt like maybe this was the continuation of what the story that they were trying to present. I really, it was okay, but there was nothing really that stood out. I had to listen to it a few times, and I kept drawing back to Stalemate. And I picked Stalemate because I feel like it was kind of the best of both, like Corey Taylor's melodic vocal and vocal power, and then just a kick-ass sound. Like it had that melodic, beautiful part and then would get really heavy. So
Yeah.
It had that balance of like, I don't know, the softer and the harder side.
I mean, I get it's the second part of a story. And by the way, there is a House of Golden Bones graphic novel to accompany this, also written by Corey Taylor. So I wouldn't actually mind reading that. I think it'd be really cool to kind of go through that and maybe have to get a gist of the story. But when I'm listening to this album, I think you're right in that the songs on Part 1 are so strong, front to back, and so powerful. And 2 comparables come to mind, the difference between Part 1 and Part 2. The first one is Metallica's Load and Reload. Load is a solid stacked disc, and Reload sounds like it's a B-sides album release.
Oh no, I love Reload.
I'm not saying there aren't good spots on Reload. I'm just saying that that's the way the album feels as a whole compared to Load. The other thing too is you take a look at when we did the 6 a.m. There Could Only Be One Episode. You had Prayers for the Dying and Prayers for the Blessed. Prayers for the Blessed, tonally different from Prayer for the Dying. I think Prayer for the Dying was the better of the 2 albums. House of Golden Bones Part 2 feels that, and that Part 1 has the better collection of songs. Part 2 is more in mood with what the storyline should be. I ended up going with Black John because I think even in this collection of songs that's more thematic than it is, powerful, Black John still kind of stands out from there. But Part 2, personal opinion, you could skip, and Part 1 kind of does everything I need for it. Meanwhile, in Burbank, released April 18th, 2015, we have a member change now. Touring bassist Johnny Chow is down the band. Also, Christian Martucci comes in, replacing James Root on guitar. The EP hit number 78 on the Billboard 200 and features covers of Alice in Chains, Judas Priest, Kiss, Metallica, and Black Sabbath. So they're having a little bit of fun on this EP. What did you go with off of Meanwhile in Burbank?
This one was tough because it's all so good, and so different. But eventually I picked Children of the Grave. I went with the Black Sabbath cover. And then for fun, I listened to all 3 versions. I listened to the Black Sabbath version, the White Zombie version, and Stone Sours. And you know what? I definitely, if I had to rank them, I definitely liked it better. I'm so sorry, Rob. I liked it better than the White Zombie version. They
Had all these like samples and whatnot. Yeah.
And I think that Stone Sour did well. Corey Taylor did well being true to the sound of the song.
Yeah. It was a tough call for me as well. And the funny thing is, some of these songs that they've covered are some of my favorite songs from some of these artists. Like We Die Young is a fantastic Alice in Chains song. And it's hard to replicate what Lane Staley did with that song. It's definitely not my pick, though. I think We Die Young might be the weakest of the 5 songs on here, but that's because I
felt that too.
I love that song so much, though, and I'm really so connected to it. Yeah,
I wanted to pick it.
Yeah,
and I was like, it's just not hitting the mark.
Yeah,
it's good.
I mean, but that's saying that it's really hard to replicate what Lane Staley did, because Lane Staley was a once in a genre generation kind of singer. And it's hard to replicate that. I also did go with Children of the Grave, though, because you're right. I think they actually improved upon what Black Sabbath originally wrote. And yes, I think it's better than the Rob Zombie version as well, or the White Zombie version. But I also really wanted to pick Heading Out to the Highway, because that's just a fun Judas Priest song. And people forget like how radio friendly some of those Judas Priest songs. Like if you think Judas Priest in your first thought is, this is the painkiller. No. There's some really hooky, radio-friendly songs from the early Judas Priest discography, and this is one of them. It just shows how good they can be, and they sound like they were having a fun time recording this one. Later that year, we had Straight Outta Burbank, released November 27th of 2015, featuring covers of Bad Brains, Iron Maiden, The Rolling Stones, Motley Crue, and Slayer, featuring a guest appearance by none other than Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm on their cover of Gimme Shelter. So your pick off of Straight Outta Burbank.
You know, I really wanted to go with Gimme Shelter. I really did. But I was drawn to Seasons in the Abyss. And I forgot how much... I'm not a huge Slayer fan, but I do love this song. I do. And I think I enjoyed it even more. This version is just, it's so good. It's so good.
I'm gonna break the internet for a second here. I know it's the Rolling Stones. I don't like this song to begin with. I find vocally, it's a great song. Yeah, and Corey Taylor and Lizzie Hale together, solid. I find the song boring.
Uh-oh.
But that's on the fault of the Rolling Stones. That's not on the fault of Corey Taylor and Stone Sour.
The opinions expressed by Jay do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast.
So maybe don't call in Corey Taylor and tell me what's what. But I agree with you again. This is the most in sync our lists have been on an episode of this podcast in the history of this podcast. Because I also went with Seasons in the Abyss.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're picking a Slayer song.
Yep.
They're not in your wheelhouse.
They are not in my wheelhouse at all.
This is incredible.
And we have seen them live.
We've seen them live. And not only that, but I mean, it does bring me back to when I was in high school. I was friends with a band. And they were a punk band, but they decided it would be fun to attempt to merge Seasons in the Abyss as a punk version. So so I know I don't know. It seemed to work for them. I'm not really musical at all. So, I mean, it sounded okay. But that was, I've always liked Seasons in the Abyss.
You know what's scary? And I don't know if this exists out there in the world. And if it does, please, internet, please let me know if this thing exists, because I need to hear this. I don't know if Seasons in the Abyss works as a punk song, but strangely, in a weird kind of upside down, bizarre world kind of way, I want to hear Seasons in the Abyss done as a reggae song.
Ooh, you know what though? Was it not? And I'm going to have to, we could even cut this, but was it not a melodic? Like one of the vocalized singers did a version of it.
I don't know. I would have to look that up. I know.
Or strings or piano.
I know Tori Amos at one point did a cover of Slayer's Raining Blood in a very Tori Amos-esque way, but I don't know if Seasons in the Abyss, and I'm sure it's probably been done.
Did Rockabye Baby do it?
Oh, I'm sure Rockabye Baby probably did that, and that would be kind of cool. No, I want to hear Seasons in the Abyss done as a reggae song, because I have a feeling there's just something about the way that song is written that if you half time it and give a reggae little kind of beat to it, I could hear that. And I want to hear that. So please, someone out there in the world, if a reggae version of Seasons in the Abyss exists, hit us up on social media at Only One Cast. I want to hear this now. I don't know if it exists, but I want to manifest it into the world.
I now want to hear all the versions. You know what? I should check back with my friends and see if they ever actually recorded the punk attempt at Seasons in the Abyss. Like I'm trying to remember
like
now.
I said, if Tori Amos can cover Raining Blood, then any version of anything Slayer did can happen. Hydrograd, released June 30th, 2017, hit number 1 on the US hard rock album charts and the UK rock metal charts, and hit number 8 on the Billboard 200. There were 5 singles off of this one. Song number 3 hit number 1 on the mainstream rock charts, and at the 2017 Loudwire Music Awards, the album won for Hard Rock Album of the Year. This is the final Stone Sour album ever. And all comments that I have seen out there in interviews state that this will be the last Stone Sour album ever, which is unfortunate because I think Stone Sour was such a powerful music group. They had good songwriting, good musical chemistry. Thank God we saw them live when we did. Dear listeners, dear music fans, go see the band before you can't see the band. We got to see Stone Sour a couple times, and I'm ever so grateful for that. So off of this final disc in this discography, what did you go with?
Fabulous.
Oh, good song.
Mm-hmm.
Good song. Not my pick. Just not my pick. Fabulous is on my short list. As is Knievel Has Landed.
Yes.
The Witness Trees. Saint Marie, which before anyone says, oh yeah, the country song. Yeah, but you know what? It's freaking good. Somebody Stole My Eyes and When the Fever Broke. I freaking love When the Fever Broke. That's such a mood. But I'm going with the one that hit number 1 on the mainstream rock charts. Song number 3, complete with wacky, waving, inflatable arm guys in the music video as well. This song is such a bop.
Yeah.
Such a bop.
So good.
Like, I can't believe I'd actually say that a Stone Sour song is a bop, but this song's a bop and I love it. Like, it's catchy as hell. And it's the kind of song that goes over live, no matter whether it's a Slipknot crowd or it's a festival crowd or it's just a good old fashioned Corey Taylor crowd. It's a good song. All right, Carrie, now comes the hard part. So remind our listeners what your picks were. And from that list, if there can only be one Stone Sour song, what was it going to be?
All right, I'm taking it back to 2002 and picking Omega off of the self-titled Stone Sour album. From 2006's Come Whatever May, I picked Zizek's Road. Hope I said that right. From 2010, Audio Secrecy, I picked The Bitter End. From 2012's House of Gold and Bones Part 1, which is also good, I picked Absolute Zero. And from House of Gold and Bones Part 2, I picked Stalemate. From Meanwhile in Burbank, I picked Children of the Grave. And from Straight Outta Burbank, Seasons in the Abyss. From 2017's Hydrograd, I picked Fabulous. And time for my absolute pick. You saw what I did there.
I saw what you did there.
I'm going to go with Zizek's Road.
Oh, curveball.
So good.
Ball.
So good.
Yeah. You realize this is only an 8-album run. This is not a long episode. We linked up on 4 of the 8 albums. We are 50% in agreement. But let's see.
We never agree.
I know, right? From 2002's self-titled album, I went with Inhale. From 2006's Come Whatever May, I went with Zizek's Road. From 2010's Audio Secrecy, I went with Dying. From 2012's House of Golden Bones Part 1, I went with Absolute Zero. From 2013's House of Golden Bones Part 2, I went with Black John. From 2015's Meanwhile in Burbank, I went with Children of the Grave. And then from Straight Outta Burbank, I went with Seasons in the Abyss. And from 2017's Hydrograd, I went with song number 3. This is a toss-up between 3 songs. Zizek's Road, Dying, and Absolute Zero. And they all have different vibes about them. Oh, dear God.
You're stalling.
No, I'm in pain trying to pick this.
Thinking.
No, I'm not thinking. I'm deliberating. I am mentally because here's the thing. Zizek's Road is very much a epic, cinematic, almost concept album kind of feel, right? Dying is a very, for lack of a better term, arena rock sing-along. Absolute Zero is an absolute banger of a song. And these 3 albums, back to back to back, like Come Whatever May, Audio Secrecy, and House of Golden Bones Part 1 is definitely the perfect Stone Sour 3-album run. And a lot of it depends on the mood that I'm in.
Stalling.
No, I'm picking it now. I'm going to change my mind tomorrow. I'm going to change my mind the day after that. I'm going to change my mind the day after that. But today on this show, the agreeing ends here. I'm going with Absolute Zero.
Okay, fair.
Tomorrow.
Respect.
Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and go, you were right, honey. You were so right. Zizek's Road is the better song.
When the microphones are no longer on.
Well, I can't let the world hear me agree with you. All right, Carrie, thank you so much. And to our dear listeners, remember that on our website at notthatbadcast.com, if you go to the episode page, you'll be able to see the very similar Spotify playlists of the songs that we have picked. Please have a listen to the songs, have a listen to the whole albums, go up and buy the albums if you get a chance to, and then let us know in the comments below on that page what songs would have made your list. Or if you're listening to us on Spotify, go ahead and drop us a comment and let us know what songs would have made your pick. But until next time, you guys know the drill. If there is an artist that you want us to cover on There Can Only Be One, or an album that you want us to cover on Spin, Shuffle, Skip, hit us up on social media at OnlyOneCast or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, if you like movies, not good ones, but if you like movies, make sure you follow our shows. It's Not That Bad, and keep Watch Pass. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is There Can Only Be One, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.